Once upon a time, in a cozy town hugged by the whispering woods, there lived a little girl named Emma with a curly nest of golden hair and chocolate brown eyes that twinkled like stars. Emma had a magical secret. She was a bookworm. Every night, while the moon sprinkled silver dust over the quiet town, Emma would snuggle under her warm, patchwork quilt with an enchanting book clutched in her eager hands. Her room was filled with the sleepy hum of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl nearby. The shelves around her were stacked with books of every shape and size, their spines battered, yet beloved from countless reads. Each night, Emma's imagination soared high like a kite, flying her to faraway lands where dragons danced and fairies giggled in hidden glades. Emma's adventures were endless. On Mondays, she would gallop through the enchanted meadows of Equestria, on the back of a majestic unicorn named Starshine. On Tuesdays, she was a brave pirate sailing the seven seas with a band of merry marauders. Wednesdays were for diving beneath the azure waves, swimming alongside whispering fishes and mysterious ocean creatures in search of sunken secrets and marvelous mysteries. Through her books, Emma befriended talking animals, wizards, and princesses. She learned how to cook the most delightful chocolate souffle from a mouse who wore a chef's hat and learned of the constellations from an ancient turtle wise enough to remember stars being born. Despite the owlish hours she kept, Emma's nights were never lonely. Her parents, knowing her love for stories, would often find her asleep, glasses askew, with a dreamy grin telling tales of her night's voyage. Emma cherished each night's journey as whispered tales of wisdom and wonder wrapped her like a warm embrace. Her boundless imagination turned bedtime into a canvas where the brushstrokes of characters and plots painted the fabric of dreams. Every night was a new adventure until her drowsy eyelids could no longer stay open, knowing that, tomorrow, another story awaited. In the magical world of books, as the morning light finally stretched its yawning rays through Emma's window, she would drift into a peaceful slumber, her heart full of stories, lovingly awaiting the coming of yet another night. Once upon a time, in a charming little village tucked away in the heart of misty mountains, there lived a curious girl named Lily. Lily had a mane of fiery red hair and a mind bustling with questions and dreams. She lived with her grandmother, who was the village librarian, in an old stone cottage brimming with stories of ancient times. One rainy afternoon, as the clouds painted the sky in shades of gray, Lily stumbled upon her grandmother's most mysteriously hidden secret. In the quiet comfort of the library at home, while her grandmother napped by the crackling fireplace, Lily reached out for a book that jammed the shelf in place. As she tugged at it, the entire shelf wobbled and swung open, revealing a shimmering portal. Her eyes widened in astonishment. Behind it was a magical world, a library of wonder. Boundless aisles of books glimmered with whimsical titles: How to Speak Dragonese, The Art of Cloud Hopping, and The Secret Whisperings of the Moon. The air was filled with the rustle of pages and the soft hum of whispered adventures. Lily's heart thumped with excitement as she stepped inside. Before her, a fluffy, blue-furred creature with enormous spectacles trotted towards her. "Ah, new visitor," it boomed in a gentle voice. "I'm Wendell, the keeper of stories. Welcome, dear Lily." Wendell guided Lily through corridors where books would leap from shelves and unfold themselves for a curious mind. In one aisle, stories from the past came alive, showing brave knights and talking animals. In another, future worlds unfurled like a tapestry of possibilities. Lily felt as though she was born to explore this enchanting place where time danced playfully. Suddenly, Wendell glanced at an oversized clock on the wall. "Time's spells do grow weary, and the portal must close soon," he warned. Lily nodded, feeling a bittersweet tug at her heart. She promised to return and learn every tale that shimmered in this wondrous library. With a gentle nudge, Wendell led Lily back to the still open portal. She stepped through, turning back for one last look as the bookshelf swung shut behind her. Her grandmother smiled knowingly from her chair, a twinkle in her eye. Lily hugged her tightly, the secret of the magical library now shared between them. From that day on, rainy afternoons were no longer dull, for Lily knew the stories of the world were just within reach, between the pages of her grandmother's enchanted library. Once upon a time, in the peaceful village of Whimsical Woods, there was a little girl named Lila. Lila was just like any other girl, except for one magical thing. Characters from storybooks often came to life and asked for her help. It all started one sunny morning when Lila was reading a fairy tale in her cozy bedroom, surrounded by piles of colorful books. As she turned the page of The Lost Unicorn, a shimmering unicorn leaped right out of the book with a loud neigh. Surprised but curious, Lila blinked and rubbed her eyes to make sure she wasn't dreaming. "Oh, dear Lila, I need your help," pleaded the unicorn, her silvery mane glistening in the sunlight streaming through the window. "I've lost my way back to Unicorn Valley, and without me, the valley will lose its magic." Lila, being the kind-hearted girl she was, couldn't resist the call for adventure. She grabbed her backpack, stuffed it with a snack, and off they went. Together, they journeyed through enchanted forest, filled with talking trees and giggling flowers. Along the way, they met a nervous knight named Sir Gus, who trembled at the sight of the unicorn. "Goodness me, a unicorn!" he exclaimed, nearly dropping his chocolate sword. He, too, needed Lila's help to find courage as he was on a quest to slay his fears. As they continued, the trio encountered a grumpy little goblin named Grumble, who had lost his laughter. Lila, with her kindness and sense of humor, tickled the goblin until he couldn't help but giggle, bringing back his long-lost laughter. By the end of the journey, Lila not only helped the unicorn find her way back home, but also taught Sir Gus to be brave and gave Grumble a reason to smile. She realized that helping friends new and old filled her heart with joy. As the sun set, Lila waved goodbye, promising that she would always be there to help any character in need. The unicorn nodded with gratitude, while Sir Gus saluted her proudly. And from that day on, Lila became known far and wide as the story whisperer, the girl who could speak to characters and help them find their happily ever afters. And Lila herself knew that every time she opened a book, a new adventure awaited her. That night, she slept soundly, dreaming of the magical worlds yet to unfold. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a tiny fairy tale kingdom nestled between the hills of Harmony and the river of Radiance. This kingdom was like no other, for its skies were blue as sapphires, and its fields were adorned with golden flowers that always faced the sun. However, the kingdom was under a mysterious curse brought by an ancient riddle. Only by solving the riddle could the curse be lifted and peace restored. The kingdom's hope lay with a brave little girl named Lila. Lila had a collection of books that she had read from cover to cover, not once, but twice. Her love for puzzles and riddles was known to everyone in the village. When the king announced that whoever solved the riddle would save the kingdom, Lila knew she had to try. One morning, Lila tiptoed into the grand castle library, where the riddle was said to rest. The riddle was contained within an old scroll tied with a ribbon the color of dawn. She unfurled the scroll with trembling fingers, reading aloud. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" Lila sat cross-legged on the library floor, thinking. She thought about how the river of Radiance whispered lullabies to the little fish, and how the hills of Harmony echoed the joyous songs of birds. "Wait," she exclaimed, as a light sparked to her eyes. "An echo. Of course." With excitement bubbling inside, Lila dashed to the throne room where the king, queen, and townsfolk were gathered. She announced her answer confidently. "The answer is echo." At those words, A gentle breeze swept through the kingdom, carrying with it the harmonious sounds of happiness. The curse was lifted. The flowers turned their faces towards the sun once more, and the kingdom celebrated Lila's courage and cleverness. From that day forth, Lila became the kingdom's official riddle keeper, ensuring no other frightful riddles would threaten her beloved home. And so, the fairy tale kingdom not only flourished in its newfound freedom, but also in the laughter and joy Lila brought with her every day. The end. In the heart of a bustling city, there stood a quaint old library, filled with pages of stories, waiting to be explored by eager minds. Among the bookshelves, the kind librarian, Ms. Maple, loved her work. Her eyes would light up every time someone entered the library. She had a special knack for recommending the perfect book for everyone. One day, little Emily, a bright-eyed girl with a love for fairy tales, wandered into the library. She was Ms. Maple's favorite visitor, always excited and curious about the stories hidden in the library's corners. "Hello, Ms. Maple. Do you have a new adventure for me today?" Emily chirped. Ms. Maple smiled warmly. Yes, dear Emily. I have something really special for you today." She went behind the library desk and brought out a book wrapped in a pretty ribbon. "This is not just any ordinary book, dear. It is the story of Emily the Brave, a tale about a girl who loves to dream and explore. It's waiting for you to read and add your adventures to its pages," Ms. Maple said, handing the book to Emily. Emily's eyes widened in surprise. "A book about me?" she exclaimed. She quickly untied the ribbon and opened the book. To her amazement, she saw illustrations of a little girl who looked just like her, setting out on adventurous quests in magical lands. Ms. Maple explained, "You see, every story starts with a single thought and a little bit of magic. The library has been watching you paint the air with ideas and imagination. So, we decided to capture those and create a storybook of your very own adventures." Filled with excitement, Emily hugged the book tightly. She couldn't wait to dive into this magical world and write her own endings. "Thank you, Ms. Maple, and thank you, Magical Library," she giggled, running to a cozy corner to start reading. Upon reaching home, she shared her marvelous gift with her family, who clapped and cheered. Emily knew this book would be the start of many wonderful journeys. And who knows, maybe one day, someone else would find Emily the Brave tucked among the library shelves. And so, the library remained a magical place where dreams turned into stories, and every child who visited left with a little bit of magic in their hearts.